How you doing today, Salman? Welcome to the Gnostic Warrior.
Thank you, Brother Mo. Thank you for having me. It's an honor and privilege to be on this platform.
You're welcome, brother. It's really great to have you on. And I've known you for a little while now, but there might be some people in the Gnostic Warrior audience that don't know about you or a little bit about your background. So it'd be great if you could give them a little bit of information on that, Salman.
Sure. So I came to this country when I was 5 years old, and I started seeing the world, Brother Mo, through many different eyes, such as the heart of a Sufi and the gnosis that we have in our hearts and knowledge. So growing up, I saw the Western society coming from the East, and I would always see love in my heart for all humanity, knowing that all paths are one. So I would go to the church on the same day, I would go to the mosque on the same day, I would study the Bible, the Quran, just try to sit with everybody because I know that the truth was fragmented into these different paths. It was all one truth, one mountaintop, and it was different paths and different fragments that were leading up to it. So as life went on, I explored the concepts of being in this country, trying to balance being in my culture, the expectations of what the East wanted me to do, and then what the West wanted me to do. So as time went on in high school, then I started looking into Freemasonry as it was suggested by a friend. And your channels was amongst one of them, which I had learned a lot from. And it was an honor and a privilege that you had played a part in my life too in making that decision. So after high school, I went to college. I finished my studies, handled a business in the Philadelphia area. So eventually, as time went on, I found my way to the Brotherhood. And within the Brotherhood, I seen the concepts of traveling to the East, finding brotherhood, finding knowledge. But just like how we see in any other concepts of groups, religions, and races, there were those that let the lower part of their human nature get the best of them. So there were many instances where I fought against racism, bigotry, and I tried as best as I could to unite the brotherhood, whether we were white, black, Muslim, Jewish, Christian. I saw all of us as one brotherhood. So as time went on, I had ended up leaving the brotherhood in America. I had resigned. And then the brothers from England, United Grand Lodge of England, took notice of me, and my membership ended up transferring over there. And then I went to the East to explore and know that for me going from the West to the East to find light and bring that light back from the East to the West, knowing that there's more to this brotherhood than what the lodge room is teaching you, and the concept of unity, gnosis, and the path of Sufism that I also follow. I realized that everything is teaching you the same thing, and we're all here in this short time together, walking each other home and owing this love and light to each other. So that's one of my goals, is to teach the concepts of knowing, and to teach them the knowledge that they're not finding here, to show that the external, the external part of our bodies, we might look different, we might speak different languages, practice differently, but internally, our hearts, we're all connected with each other as one. And there was a presentation I had prepared that I have the honor of sharing with your audience today.
Great, great. And I'll love to see that. And it's really great. I love following you, Salman. Every day you'll do a video stream or a podcast, and it's all about love and light, and accepting everybody. And a lot of us here in the West, whether it's in Freemasonry or it's just, people that are on their own path, they don't really understand that.
Yes.
And they think of us that we're all different. And, the powers that be, they have us divided and divide and conquer, and
Hmm.
we all see each other, whether it's, as you had mentioned, the color of our skin, whether it's our race or it's the religion, or maybe it's the sect of, Freemasonry or the brotherhood that we're involved in. Before we get into more of your work and your presentation, though, I wanted to talk about your decision to leave, the brotherhood here in America, and then eventually join the UGLE, and then also travel to the East. How did you become disenfranchised with the Freemasonry here in the United States?
So here, when I had first joined, I was putting in all the effort that you can possibly imagine, being participating in a lot of things, and trying my best with the education, with unity, with brotherhood. And I realized that some of the powers that be did not wish to see some of those changes because they want the system the way that it's set up to be. And I had faced a lot of resistance. I had people that had turned their back on me, And I had experienced order out of chaos, which I realized in the Masonic term is that sometimes you have to fall down before you get back up stronger. And I had experienced some of that where I was in a lot of credit card debt. My weight was a lot. I was having obesity problems. And I knew that, you know what, I need to face myself in the mirror. I need to admit that there are some parts of my life that I had neglected and just get myself back together. And as I started improving myself, my ego, my heart, and I noticed the same attraction, the energy that I was putting, loving myself, that's how the universe responded back to me. So we have a lot of these concepts, my brother, that we have God, or what we know as the grand architect. He does send help our way, but we must be able to, our hearts must be open to receive it. And that's when I noticed, like when Batman climbs out of the cave in the third movie, takes him a while to get back up there, but you have to sometimes face order out of chaos, my brother, because if we didn't go through the difficulties or the challenges we faced in life, we would not be who we are today. So we have to sculpt our rough ashlars so we can become perfect in our character internally and externally. So as time went on, there were good brothers from the UGLE that had reached out to me and that said, we're not going to lose somebody like you. And then they had sponsored me in one of their lodges, which I have the honor of being a part of. And ever since then, I've been on a roll. It motivated me to start my YouTube channel, you being one of my inspirations to do that, to write my book, and to know that there were too many people counting on me for me to just go away like this. And when I had went to the East, I spoke to a lot of the Sufi elders, and the Sufism has been a big part of Freemasonry's history, even though they might not teach it here. And a lot of the Knights Templars were studying with the Sufis, and even the Rosicrucians with Christian Rosenkreuz studied with the Sufis before they brought that light back from the East to the West. So the elders knew my situations because they're highly spiritual beings, some of them are. And they said, you have to not give up on this path. You have to go and reform the Masonic Brotherhood in the West. And because a lot of them are still wandering in the dark in the West, they're just going around in circles like a dog chasing its own tail, trying to find the light, but they're not able to because their comprehension has not extended beyond what the lodge or what their jurisdiction has showed them. So it's about accepting everybody. It's not falling into forms of division or who's right and who's wrong. Because on the spiritual path, my brother, anything that causes division is ungodly. And when those that are on the spiritual path, they say, okay, these people are like this or they're like this, then you already fell into the ego trap. Because one of the 99 names in Sufism, we have the concepts of finding the names of God, just like how it is in Freemasonry. So one of the names is Alahad, which means all is one, my brother. You, me, Jews, Christians, Muslims, the trees, the rock, the soil, the sun, the moon, the stars, everything comes from that one source. And if I have that realization in my heart, then how can I have hate in for anybody in my heart, knowing that we all come from the same source, and I will always exist as some kind of energy. I might have been a mineral that went to a plant, then went to an animal. Now I exist as a man. Then next life I might be an angel, and then back to God. So when you plant a tree, like an orange tree, the seed eventually grows up to become that orange tree. When you plant the apple, it ends up becoming the apple. So we are manifestations of the grand architect of the universe, experiencing this reality together. And we're just walking each other home in this short life that we have together. Most people, my brother, they get lost in the concepts that I want a PM next to my name. I want a 33 next to my name. None of that stuff is going to help you in this life. What's going to help you is what good did you do for yourself, your family, and for others that came before you. That is the greatest wealth, my brother. And this life, we take it day by day. And if this was my last message to share with humanity, I would tell you that it's not about, my external appearance or what I have or how much money I have or what kind of car I drive, what kind of home I have. It's about what good did I do for myself and others, because that's the greatest gift of the Mason, is to touch somebody's heart and to help them get some kind of realization. And I even realized this myself, that even I went to some of the most secluded places in Pakistan, my brother Mo, and there were people coming out of nowhere wanting to help me, showing me their love and their brotherhood. I was in London, it was the same thing. So we realized how small this world really is and how we let petty differences divide us by the agents of chaos. And the agents of chaos are malevolent beings that exist in all race, religions, groups of the world, those that operate from the lower nature. We must be the higher nature and to bring humanity together, knowing that everyone is teaching you the truth in their own ways. You have a lot of brothers that are telling you, I have went to the mountaintop, the capstone of the pyramid. So the mountaintop to get there, my brother, is that we must realize is that everyone has their own way of perceiving divinity, and realize that we must be able to walk this path together and not feed into those entities and the powers that be that want to keep us divided, because they know we are more stronger when we come together. When I have compassion for your children, the same that I have for my own, the compassion that I have for my fellow man, and know that this life sometimes is an illusion. Sometimes things presented to us are not what they seem to be, and to always find divinity in our hearts. So we have this concepts of a lot of the faiths teaching us, such as in the Holy Bible, it says the kingdom of heaven is within. In the Holy Quran, Surah 50, it tells us that Almighty God is closer to us than our jugular vein. So we find God in our hearts. We find the grand architect of the universe, his love, his knowledge, his gnosis. We find all of that in our hearts to know that we're walking each other hand by hand in this path together. Everything else, such as egos, relationships, concepts, you have it today, you don't have it tomorrow. And that's why I say that this world is a guest house. People, seasons, years, everything changes as time goes on. And we're part of a storybook. We're playing a script. So that's why we should never hold resentment for anybody. There might have been somebody in our life. We might have played some kind of a part in their life. I have done that. I have, maybe I was meant to say something to them in a certain way or guide them in a certain way. And then that triggered them in certain ways to finally confront themselves and get themselves right. And maybe their journey takes them elsewhere, but I cannot hold any resentment in my heart knowing that they're not in my life anymore. Maybe their love and light was needed elsewhere, because we're always where we're meant to be and what we're meant to be saying. So this life is it's beautiful. It's like a video game. You'll always find the right item, the right character, the right event that happens at the right time, because we're in this beautiful journey together.
Definitely, brother, and I really enjoy that explanation that you gave. It reminds me of what Freemasonry is about. We're supposed to be living stones and examples for our fellow man, our fellow brothers, fellow sisters, whoever that might be out there. And one of the things that we have here in the West, and I feel that we've been pushed in this duality, almost inverted. I didn't have these spiritual teachings when I was younger. Our schools are completely void of them. It's all about materialism, about getting ahead, about business. And you see where that's gotten our country here in the United States up into this day. And, there's a severe spiritual crisis going on. And I've had that all throughout my life. I went, I believe, into the darkness. I believe I wasn't born that way. I believe I was confused, looking to all my elders for help, for wisdom, and not finding it, and finding hypocrisy. I was born Catholic, and would go to church, and, I would learn these teachings and they would be great. But at home, it would be the complete opposite, of what we were being taught. So I became disenfranchised with that at a young age, and I know a lot of people here in the West do as well. So you'll find there's a lot of atheists here and people that think, religion, whatever religion it might be, is a joke, and it's just made by some people who wish to control us and stuff like that, which I disagree. I used to go into that camp and became somewhat of an atheist. And now I went full circle once I got into Gnosticism. And I would say I also went to the East, and found out where I came from and my ancestors. I had no idea. And that led me to teachings of philosophy and understanding, what was going on and reading it, and then starting to understand wisdom that I never was taught as a youngster. And then understanding that's what I really resonate with. I don't resonate with what I've been told or this world here in the United States of America, or how we're supposed to live. I felt cheated. I felt my dad was an alcoholic, and he was a meat cutter at Vaughn's, and that's all he did. And I believe because he didn't have this philosophy, he didn't have these teachings as a youngster, he masked his pain in the alcohol. And then that that got turned on to me, and then drugs, and
Mm.
you know, so I feel that we get inverted, and it creates this duality. And you'll hear a lot of my teachings, and I wanted to get your feedback in regards to, here I believe that we have a spiritual crisis where, people, including Freemasons, because I've seen this time and time again, and it doesn't matter who it is, but they are inverted in their thinking. They don't put the spiritual over the material. We all have to live in this world. We have to have businesses or work, but
Yeah.
they basically do it satanically, how it
Mm.
would be in possibly your religion, or when you read Christianity and you read about Satanists and simony and stuff. All these people are doing the exact same things they said Satan did, and they call themselves holy or godly, or they call themselves a Christian. And that's what I believe, the hypocrisy I saw, but I didn't understand it as a youngster. And then as I get older, I try to operate my spiritual on top of my material when I do my things, whether it's my business and everything. I call it, I try to put people, their spirits, their souls before my money, when I'm doing my things. And that, just so you know, is a battle, because the guys that are doing it, profits before people, they're always winning me out, right? Because they lie and they cheat. And
Yeah. Yeah.
so in any event, one of the things, that the concepts that I came up upon, because I believe that we've been, inverted and satanic, is that there's this spiritual darkness. And I believe, like you, that we're all one.
Yeah.
But I also believe that when people get possibly inverted, and I think I'm opening a new concept to you, that they are serving a different God possibly. And I wanted to get your thoughts. Is there any type of thing in Sufism or in Islam or your history and religion that talks about people possibly that, we all have the same heart, but they're not operating from the same heart?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. That's correct.
possibly a heart that might be from their stomach. So the Greeks had a term called cardia, the heart, the center, though. So when you research the term, they were talking about, where does the true heart of the person come from? For you, Salman, it's from your heart. I could tell, bro. When I talk to you, I feel good. I feel tingles. I feel happy, right? And then the other people, growing up here in the United States, and a little bit about my background, I've been around the block.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I've done drinking, drugs, alcohol, prison, jail. So I've been around who they might call in other religions people that are demonic or unspiritual, or maybe they follow Satan and the devil,
Mm.
right? And I didn't know at that time what I was dealing with. And now that I am where I am now, I feel this energy from these people. So long story short, what is your take on that? Meaning the people that follow the darkness, not knowing it, and they've been taken over possibly.
Yeah. So in Sufism, the word Sufi coming from the word Sophia, wisdom, and also from wool. So to be a garment of purity, to be in a state of purity at all times. So we believe the fallen angel Iblis, who's known as Lucifer in the West, he had worshipped God for thousands of years. He was teaching all of the angels how to read the holy books, how to read the Quran, all of that stuff. And one day he came across the third realm, so the realm above the fourth dimension, where Almighty God or the Grand Architect has the Emerald Tablet, where all of the knowledge is inscribed. And Iblis saw that 1,000 years from now, somebody is going to disobey God. And he was shocked that who could that be? And he did not realize he was foretelling his own demise. So when that time came, when God said, I want all of the angels to bow before Adam, and Iblis said, no, I'm made of smokeless fire, he's made of clay. And if you make me bow before him, I will do everything in my power to destroy him and his kin. And that's when God had cast him down to the lower realms. And that's when Iblis said that I will do everything in my power to destroy your creation, because God said that man is my greatest creation. I'm his greatest secret, and he's my greatest secret. That's why God is in our hearts, because we're his conduits. And Iblis could not stand that. So in the time that we're growing up, there are times when there are those beings that are walking around, because you have good and bad in all races, religions, creeds, and groups. that internal warfare between the light and the darkness that has been going on for thousands of years. And there are beings that know your light. They know who you are, and they will target you from childhood, from the school system, from the workplace. They'll find spiritual ways to try to get under your skin because they want to destroy you. And what we've been sent here to do is to basically help each other and recognize that, because if we were created in the image of God, then we are perfect, like the grand architect himself. But it's the flaws of this society and the flaws of the battle that we're in that try to put us down. And that's what we see, my brother, is that all of these religions are teaching you the same thing, but you have those on the top that want to maintain their perversion and their control because they don't want you to come together. And that's who the Prophet Muhammad was too. He was a widow's son. He had lost his father at the in his birth, and up until the age of 6, he was raised by his mother. And his concept was the same: to become one ummah, and becoming one ummah is becoming one community. So, and we'll have those elements of the agents of chaos that even exist in Freemasonry that don't want people to come together. Everything has to be crossed and confused and inverted. And everything, we have to be the representative of that light that's holding this world together. And you have played a role, my brother. I have played a role. Others have played that role, and we will continue to do so. And in the West, it's unfortunate that a lot of the organizations here are a reflection of the society they inhibit. So, the craft in the West being one of them. That's one of my missions in my life, is to eventually show them the real light, show them the concepts of unity, and to know that I will never give up on them, because I know what the true craft is by meeting the elders in the East. And I know it's my job to get things right over here. And to know that in reality, Brother Mo, we all have to heal our inner child, because the human heart is the most thing that's under attack right now, especially in the West, with the concepts of relationships, jobs, how to tell you to lie just to make a profit off of a job. I could never do that. I had one of my Sufi friends, and they had him do one of these jobs, walking around town and trying to sell something to people. And he said, I can't lie to people. I'm not going to do this. But when we're in that state, my brother, when we need nothing and we expect nothing from this society, that's when the grand architect actually gives everything to you. So it is kind of like opposite how it works. So I never chased after money. I never chased after women. I never chased after any of that stuff. And the grand architect of the universe, he knew my heart, he knew my soul, and everything was actually given to me. Like how King Solomon, when God asked him, Solomon, what do you desire? And he said, God, I only want wisdom. And just because he said that, he was given everything else in return too. So
Amen.
when we're in a state, when we're like that, Brother Mo, everything is given to us. And it hurts me and it breaks my heart when I see some of the women here that are, jumping from one man to another, not taking the time to heal themselves. And I tell them that I have love for all of you, and I want you to heal yourself. I want you to take care of yourself first, and not go on a path of self-destruction. Same thing with the men. Take time to honor your families, honor yourselves, and not be in the gratification of the lower nature, where all you desire is the fleshly aspect or the sex or anything like that. That's why we have so many etherical cords attached to us. Same thing with the alcohol. In Arabic, that's al-ghul, the demon, al-kuhul, that, you open the bottle and you have these entities that take over your physical vessel. And when you wake up, you're usually in regret, and you're like, oh, I shouldn't have done what I did, or maybe I could have said something better, because that was not you. And we have a society that promotes promiscuous, like, women and men being promiscuous, drinking alcohol, not honoring thy father, thy mother, their relationships, your neighbors. We're all one. And when we're in a society where they tell you just throw him under the bus, throw this person under the bus, who cares about them? We can replace them easily. And that's when you'll be on a path of self-destruction. And that's why this society is in a moral decay, because we averted away from what the grand architect wants us to do, which is to love each other, respect each other, build each other up. And those are the Masonic principles. And a lot of what this country was founded on, the Masonic States of America, they're not following that. They're not following any of that. You can even go to the Supreme Court. They have a statue of the Prophet Muhammad outside of it, because we honor all of the lawgivers in our life. We have Jesus in Mark 4:11 that said that some of you will get it, and you will be taught the mysteries, and the people on the outside, they would be taught in parables. Moses had his companions. Muhammad has his companions. So we need each other. You know, we have these egos and divisions that tell women, I don't need no man. I'm better off lonely and in isolation. Or, you know, they have this concept that I have everything. A man comes in, he's going to take over everything. A man has a different concepts where he's divided from the woman because they want you to be like that. They don't want you to come together and be in unison with one another. Because when you all come together, that's when you create something beautiful. And your external reality, you manifest it from the internal heart. And if enough people, my brother, get their hearts right, the internal frequency of their temple, you will manifest that out into the external world. Just like how when we're praying, you know, on our mosque, we say give salam to the right and salam to the left, because the two pillars are next to you, and you are the temple yourself. So you have to honor thyself and honor your heart, your habits, think good, know good, do good, practice a good, clean life, and all those concepts that have been taken away from you, your inner child, your heart being hurt, something happened in your childhood, give a chance of forgiveness. Let the concept of letting go. Know that there's something good ahead for you in this life that has been prepared for all of us with the roles that we've been meant to play. And just to wish well for everybody. And I know so many men and women right now that are suffering extensively on top of what's happening now with the pandemic, and now it's added stress on top of what they were already dealing with in the, you know, so-called normal. And we have a concept where this system is not designed to give you a break. You have one bill after the other. You don't pay the taxes, they'll come and put a lien on your home. So you got to make a concept of just taking time to heal yourself. Just take some time, at least 1 hour a day. Just take some time and just breathe. Just breathe and connect with your breath, because your breath is the source of life. And when you connect that breath with somebody else, that's when you make love. But if you connect it with yourself, you love yourself before you can love anybody else. You must forgive yourself before you can forgive anybody else. And you must heal yourself before you can heal anybody else. And that's the journey, my brother. Everything else that I see, such as degrees, businesses, titles, people going to these corporate meetings, and they have like this attitude that we're just trying to get what we need, but internally they don't like the people that they're dealing with. So that's hypocrisy. We don't need that into today's society. I'd rather be face to face like this with you, my brother, and pour my heart out to you, because I know that I'm not hiding nothing from you. I want to help you. You have helped me in my high school days, leading me up to this point, and everything comes full circle. And we're all walking each other home, and that's the reality, is that we have to face ourselves in the mirror and we have to surrender. So the concept of the Sufi is that submission to the will of God. And in Islam, anyone who submits to God is a Muslim. And by definition, that can be anybody. That can be you, that could be me. Anybody who submits to a higher power and surrenders their ego, that's the path that you're on. And we must be able to be willing to do that.
And let's focus on that, Salman. And I think that's a lot of what people don't get here in the West, the higher power, right? They don't understand those philosophies. So that would go in line with where I say we've been inverted, where the higher power is below us.
Yeah.
You know, and I would say again that this Luciferian thing, or this devil, this Beelzebub would deal with what we're finding out is fungi and molds. And again, this thing, what I'm trying to do with a lot of my work, and you know, this is of course about you, but is to try to make sense of it for these people that are on the outside of it, that completely are maybe atheistic or they're not religious. And I'm tying these teachings into their psychosis.
Yes.
And it's helping me because I've been one of those people that followed the women and the drugs and the path to destruction. And I've almost been destroyed many times, and I don't know why I'm here. Maybe it's, as you say, I'm here to do bigger things. And I feel like that makes me want to keep doing it, you know. But in any event, when I made those choices, not realizing it, I was destroying myself. And of course, I ended up in jail multiple times, prison, drug rehabs, so forth. You know, all those decisions, broken relationship after broken relationship, right? For not treating people how I want to be treated, doing it the American way, or, you know, hey, conquer the woman. You know, that's a thing here with young men, you know, because of the internet and porn and all this type of stuff.
Yeah.
You have this thing where the guys are looked up to that conquer all these women because, hey, they're a good looking guy. And then you realize when you follow that path, it's complete hell and destruction as well for
Yes.
everybody involved. And then kids get involved and stuff like that. So I've been to hell with those decisions. And then I'm finding out, like you know, when I do follow my heart
Yes.
and I do things as I believe for the higher power, which I believe it deals with what we're talking about now, you know, wisdom, philosophy. And I believe that's where us brothers, we connect, right? It's how you found me
Yeah.
and where we came full circle again. And here we are, right? So, you know, what's this higher power? How can you put it in relation to the people here in the West that don't understand higher power, and maybe how you could relate that in Sufism to wisdom, philosophy? And you know, that's what I believe is the key to the ticket to saving yourself and pursuing that path, as
Hmm.
opposed to the unspiritual, which would be the material things that we had mentioned. You know, doesn't mean you don't have sex, right? You have a wife that's yours, you know, and I'm sure it's the same in Islam and in Sufi, and you respect them and you
Yes.
give them your heart,
Yes.
and they're your best friend. And you know, and that's the relationship that I now have with my wife, and I'm as happy as can be. You know, it's interesting as well. And then one last thing I'll let you take over here is the breath thing. You know, that's a thing that my wife and I have noticed, because we're so in tune with one another, and there's no BS or no, you know, we're there every day looking in each other's eyes, is the breath. And especially when, say, we're making love, that breath, we become like one, and we've noticed that. And it's almost like a rhythmic rhythm that we have together. And I find that when we're connected at the heart, whether it's love, whether it's the house, whether it's anything, nothing can conquer us. And it feels like the light, like God is around my house, you know. But every day I'm going out and dealing with the darkness and the
Mm.
demons and the different things, because they're right outside that door. They're on the internet. They're in my son's room when he's going on his phone, and I got to go check up. And you know, it's this constant battle. So anyways, take over, brother.
Yeah, so the beautiful thing about uniting with God, my brother, is we have the Arabic phrase Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, and that means in the name of God, the beneficent and the most merciful. And if you translate it into the numerical value, it comes up to the number 787. And the Arabic number 787, if you look at it, it's the square and the compass. And a lot of the Knights Templars, when they were studying with the Sufi lodges during the Crusades, they had the number 787 written outside of their lodges. And that means basically you have to transmute your soul. So the alchemy of the soul from the lower nature into higher divine qualities, knowing that there's a higher power that's watching us, testing us, loving us, putting us through trials and tribulations, and letting us become who we're meant to be. And your journey also is an example that you go from darkness to light, and you have somebody that you could share your love with. And Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim also is the feminine and masculine principles. So what we call Allah or God is the genderless, androgynous being, where you must become one with your other mate and return to that source. And in Islam, your faith is not complete, or a woman's faith is not complete unless she finds her opposite half and she becomes one with him or her. And it's the same in the Matrix, what's exemplified that Neo could not become the one unless Trinity expressed her love for him in the end, where she finally surrendered instead of holding back, and he was able to awaken that within him. So we're in a society where they don't want us to come together and discover our power for each other. They want us to be separate, and they want us to be in this concept of division and this concept of evil and hatred, all Luciferian tendencies, because we're his greatest enemy and he wants to destroy us. So we have this concept of even what you're doing, God's work, by fighting the mold, fighting a lot of this demonic artificial intelligence that we even see exemplified in video games like Resident Evil 7, where the main character goes in the house and all these people went crazy because of the mold in the house. So a lot of this stuff, there is truth there. And you are one of the light givers and the light workers of the grand architect of the universe that's here to spread heaven on earth. And basically, we realize that, God says that in Islam, Prophet Muhammad said, you have to die before you die. And what that means is there's the concept of death and rebirth that you have in a lot of mystical teachings and initiate systems, where you have to basically let go of this life in order to ascend higher. And when we die, we say that Allah is the only reality, because everything around us is an illusion, my brother. You and I are conduits of that one source. And basically it's God holding you and I like Mr. Rogers, like the puppets, and we're trying to understand each other. So you and I come from the same source. God is basically playing hide and seek with its own self through you and me, trying to understand itself. And that's why we are his greatest secret, and God is our greatest secret. And hence you have those malevolent beings from this part, and you have from the fourth dimension that correlate with each other to try to destroy us. They'll use elements from your past, present, or future, use that against you, because once you break through that barrier, that's when that fight between as above so below happens here on this realm as well. So they know up there, like, okay, now he's connected to God, we got to sever that connection somehow. So they'll have somebody from your past call up, hey Mo, you remember we used to go chase girls and do this, we used to go do that, we used to go do this, and they'll tempt you because they want to sever that connection that you have established with the grand architect. So all of these elements from the past, present, and future will come and try you and best you, but you have to stay strong through all of this, knowing that once I've established this connection, I will not do drugs, I will not drink alcohol, I will not watch porn, which tells you to degrade women and degrade each other and tells you to release your life force energy. And they tell you that it's normal. It's not normal. That's why the Mason wears his apron, to protect his root chakra of the temple. That's the gateway to your temple.
Yeah.
And once you harness that, then all that crystals oil comes up and helps you awaken.
Yeah, and I love where you're going with this, brother, because this is important. There's people that don't understand this mystical teaching. They listen to people say like Joe Rogan, right? And he's what I call the liberal sacred cow, right? We have a joker that is the highest paid person in the United States for a podcast. It's the Joker, and he's openly talking about masturbating daily. 54-year-old man, he's married, and this is who our children in America and men are going for wisdom. Again, I like Joe in the aspect, because I do listen to the podcast and sometimes I want to close my ears, but I've been around the block where I'm able to sometimes get that out of my head. But in any event, people don't understand what it means to abstain from porn, to not look at other women. That's helped me, just so you know, tremendously. Just doing that one thing over the last, I'd say, 6 years. I'd say I've been 6 years porn free, has made a huge difference in my life, and being able to control this and women and stuff like that, and my relationship with my wife. And then also understanding about not releasing that phosphorus. Okay. Yeah. So I studied that. I was like, what do they mean by, having that oil go up the chakras to the, the crown, or how you explained it. And, it basically is, to explain in the scientific sense, the phosphorus that you would release through sex or masturbating every day, and some people do it every day, you bring up to the mind, and through philosophy and love and wisdom, you connect to your heart, and then you connect to God.
Yes.
And it's not wasted, and we become these light beings. And that's how I feel we kind of communicate. And it's weird is I feel like that sometimes when I'm out there, like Neo, and then the other people that aren't awake, they're those batteries that are upside down, and they're just completely inverted, and they're listening to Joe, and they're doing all those things that are making it so they can't connect to their crown, to God. So what I feel, these people they're the Agent Smiths.
Yes.
Right. And they don't know it.
Yep, exactly.
And right now, when I look around the world and I go and I'm looking at this person, and then I'm looking at the government, and I'm going, they're everywhere. I mean, 99% of humanity.
That's right. That's absolutely correct.
And isn't that dangerous too?
It is, but the grand architect only puts the burden on our shoulders, the one that we can handle.
Yeah, right. The warriors.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're the Gnostic warriors.
yeah.
And that's the beauty, my brother, is that we're in this battle, and unfortunately the powers that be promote those that are spreading that kind of information that harms humanity.
Sure.
You being one of them that has been suppressed because you're actually giving out the truth, and my channel also being one of them, that trying to teach the truth to the people, but no one is going to promote you on their page or talk about you because they know that we don't want anybody to find out about him. But you're loved, Brother Mo, and those people that of our nature, you're loved, you're protected, and you're needed. That's why you're here, and that's why you continue to be needed here, because you have a purpose to play. You are a light that's holding this world together. I'm a part of that same energy and conduit. We're helping each other. We're helping those that are trying to find that understanding, to honor themselves, each other, and humanity. Most people think that those concepts of darkness are just here in America. It's like you said, they're everywhere. I went to different parts of the country and different parts of the world. There were good people that came up to me and told me, we love you, we like what you're doing. And then there were those that would walk by me and make like these hissing sounds like a snake because they didn't like me. And I knew who they were, because I know we're in this internal war together. That's something that we have to face. I cannot escape my fate by just hiding in my room all day long. I have to go out and face the consequences, face the adversaries, and know that I have what it takes to conquer them if I made it this far. And that's the life that we're sharing with one another. I remember when
What?
I first went to London, I got out of the plane and I went outside. I didn't know where I was, where I was going, and it started pouring all of a sudden. I got drenched in the rain with my luggage, and all of a sudden, this great gentleman came around the corner, and he put my luggage in his car and he dropped me off at the place I was staying. And I asked him, "Is there anything I could do to repay you or help you?" And he said, "No, don't be silly. Just enjoy your time while you're here." So there are those people, my brother, that when we're in a situation of emergency, they will come out to help us. But it's like you have a lot of these watchers. They don't want to interfere in your growth and evolution. They want you to figure it out and learn on your own. And when you're in a dire emergency, they will come out to help you. And that's what I
Yeah.
learned in my phases out of order, out of chaos, that I felt that there were those that had abandoned me, that turned their backs on me, but it was not like that. I was always watched over. I was loved. I was protected. I was guided, even without my knowing or comprehension at the time. And as I'm 28 years old now, and I'm still learning, I'm still trying to figure life out. And I know that however long the grand architect has me here on this earth, I have to do the best that I can to help myself and help my fellow man. That's basically for me being a millionaire. Everything else I know it does not matter, because I have it today, I won't have it tomorrow. And that's why I tell the men and women that I come across is, please heal yourself, love yourself, honor yourself before you can do that for anybody else. Heal your wings, because you're all angels. And there are those that want to rip off your wings and want to destroy you. So just make sure that we're treading this path on a day-to-day basis, knowing that there is a light at the end of the tunnel that we will all go to one day.
Definitely, definitely, and I love your words. And one of the things that you had said struck out to me, because it's going along the lines of something I was just researching, and it was God as the potter. That's a saying we have here in Christianity in the West. God is the potter. And when I was researching that, I got into the different terms that we've had. In our Bible here comes, of course, from the Phoenician Hebrew, and then eventually it went into the Greek, into the Latin, and then the Old English and the English, and so forth. And so sometimes when you read through it, you realize that possibly the agents of chaos had taken this book sometime between our ancestors and us here in the West, and they changed the words.
Yeah.
Right. So you literally have to go through and read all these interpretations. And then in between those interpretations is interpretations by people who are possibly well-meaning or not. And then they're writing books and giving the wrong interpretation of the interpretation. And it's a mold of a copy. And then you're like looking through it and you're going, this doesn't mean this. This is not what they said in Greek, ancient Greece. So in any event, clay, what I had found out actually relates to something that I believe I'm talking about. And they had a thing they called Herodotus bitumen. which is interesting, because bitumen, you'll look for the definition of bitumen, and it'll be told, on Wikipedia, it's asphalt. It's like a mortar, and I'm like, mortar, that doesn't sound right. And then I came across this concept that is used interchangeably for it. It's called Bible slime.
Yeah.
Slime, right? And slime is connected to bitumen, and then Herodotus, when you read his, the father of history. So I was like, maybe I should read him before I read, this person or all these people in between. And Herodotus tells us that it's basically the product of decomposition of vegetables and animals.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So
yeah, that's exactly right. Because in Sufism, we have this concept that Allah, or the grand architect, created us from clay.
sure.
And he had Adam frozen in a state of clay, between clay and water, for 70,000 years before he breathed the breath of life into Adam. And that's when everything, the allegorical fall of man and everything else that happened after that.
Sure.
And we're taught in the concepts, when you go to the holy city of Mecca in the east, and you have the Kaaba, the Ka and the Ba being the aspects of the ancient Egyptian mystery school system, where you have to honor your soul. And you have the three stages of the soul, like the three stages of masonry. You have the Ka, the Ba, and the Ak. The Ak meaning brother. So in order for you to become on the third step and be a full brother, you have to make sure that the tools that God gave you, you continue to sculpt away at your ashlar, just like how the Kaaba is the perfect ashlar stone. And to know that anything that is in this life, Brother Mo, it's basically a test. This life is a test of both good and bad times, good times, as you go through the black and white tiles of masonry. And to know that there must be a balance. Any extremity of any side does not help anybody. And that's what I try to help tell the people in America, is that walk the middle path, the 0 point, and then you will realize the truth. Because Agent Smith cannot exist without Neo. Neo cannot exist without him. Joker cannot exist without the Batman. Batman cannot exist without him. So we all have a purpose in this guidance that we're in. And even the evil ones know that the good is destined to win. They're just seeing how much that they can get away with before God wraps up the scroll and everything comes to an end. But until that time, we're in this struggle to help each other and to help, ourselves. And if people realize the truth of all this, they would just sit down and think, what was I taught my whole life? To outdo one another, to throw each other under the bus, so I could have this high corporate position, not knowing what guarantee do I have in my life if that position or the money in my pocket is going to help me wake up tomorrow morning. And know that, why did I hurt those people? Why did I say that to her? Why did I do that to him? And we must be better than this in our examples. Just like with the Ka and the Ba, the Kaaba in Mecca, that's what changed Malcolm X too. When he went from here, he was being taught hatred here. And when he went to Mecca, he saw the Kaaba and all the brothers in the East meeting on the level. The concept we share with Freemasonry and Islam is that, there's no concept of racism. Everybody's equal. And Malcolm X saw that and he said, this is what you're doing in America is wrong. And then he brought back the light from the East to the West. And that's what ended up making him a target. Because if he kept preaching the division, he would have still been around. But anyone that tries to bring people together and not post any hatred against, whites, blacks, Muslims, Hispanics, Asians, the powers that be see you as a threat. They don't want you around, or they'll suppress you or shadow ban you, or they'll remove followers from your page because they don't want people to hear what you have to say. And that's the thing, my brother, is that we must continue knowing that there's somebody out there who we made a difference in the life of, like you have made a difference in my life and you did not even know it back in the 2010 and 11. So you have to keep doing what you're doing. You don't know who's listening to you and whose hearts you're impacting, or whose lives you have changed, whose hearts you have touched. That's the ultimate goal of the Mason and the Sufi. It's not about being egotistical or having a 33 next to my name. That's not going to help me. What's going to help me is what good did I do for myself and others.
And likewise, brother. So here you are, we're friends on Facebook, right? And you're usually doing a daily stream, and it's usually just you walking in the park, feeding a couple birds, saying, hey, I love you guys. And I watch it regularly, and you're welcome. And it touches my heart, right? Because that's what you're doing. Because you're you find when you work from your heart, you touch others through your work, right? And that's what you're doing. You're a living stone doing that for the brotherhood. So you're helping me when I lose track in the world, because it's sometimes hard to grow up the way I did and then to always maintain the path, to
Yeah.
always get connected, what I say, connected to my heart sometimes, because here we react a lot, and you see that with Twitter and these elections, and the masters are just playing the people that don't understand off each other, and they're just chewing each other's faces off, and they're not thinking, they're not sitting back, they're not connecting to their heart,
Yes.
and I know what that means because I've done that myself. I've said things that I don't mean, or I have not connected to my heart, or treated my brother how I wanted to treat it, or my sister, or my kids. And then I look back and I analyze my shame. Why did I do that? And it's always because I just reacted. It was like a gut reaction, not putting my heart
Mm.
before what I was doing. So anyways, you helped me connect to my heart a lot. So thank you, brother. So your work is touching us. And I see the comments from, the brothers around the world thanking you and stuff like that. And everybody likes Salman, and which is great. And sometimes I feel like we all have different roles. Like this is your path, and then mine is not the same, but I'm to use my heart, but also be a warrior and be more on the front lines, as opposed to going into those houses, writing about these dark subjects that I write about sometimes. And, the reasons that I write about them, because of the people suffering, um,
Yes.
the problems that I'm having in my own family, and trying to understand the psychosis of the United States of America and in the West, and then realizing it's a spiritual psychosis. And this is the reason why all these people are doing all these things, whether it's the food they're putting in the body, or it's the drugs, or it's the porn, and they don't even realize it. And they're becoming Agent Smiths, or they're becoming demonic, as we would say in Christianity. And I believe we have a crisis in this country, beyond epic proportions. And this crisis, this economic, this COVID, this everything is actually putting it on steroids rather than it getting better.
Yes.
And if you read all the statistics, and I'm going into houses actually right now where literally there was a house I went into, just a short story. They basically were a couple, and they lived fine in San Diego, and then the crisis happened. They lost both of their businesses, and they ended up doing methamphetamine. And then
Mm.
the house flooded, and they didn't fix nothing, and they were literally living in this filth and mold, and they ended up losing their minds and having a divorce. And literally 8 months before, they were allegedly a happy family.
Yes.
So I just want to kind of give you a story to put it in perspective of what I'm seeing and what I'm going into, and
Mm.
seeing it in real time. These people change from our fathers and our mothers and our sons and our daughters who we love and still do, into these people unknowingly, where they're giving themselves up to darkness. And I feel, the alcohol is a big factor. And then we have all these drugs here in the West as well. So, there's a lot of people that are going to be listening to the podcast, especially here in the West, where it's okay to do all that. Salman, it's okay to drink a little alcohol, or a lot of it, or do a little drugs, and have a little sex, and not be married, and go look at porn and stuff like that. And what I realized is the more that person does that, the more they get inverted, and
Hmm.
this darkness, this satanic, whatever you want to call it, or you could just say it's the fungi, starts taking them over completely, and they don't have the ability to even think. Sometimes I could say, and that's a lot of people right now. So what do you feel about this spiritual crisis that people are having? And is there any advice that you can give to the people out there that are playing with darkness and don't understand what they're getting into?
I would tell them that be honest with yourself and know that there's always a chance for redemption and forgiveness. And we have to return to our childlike innocence and state for us to ascend to the higher realms. Now, there's a great movie by Nicolas Cage called The Knowing. And in The Knowing, the world is about to be destroyed. But when the angels come down to collect humanity, they only take the children with them because they still had their innocence intact. and they take them to this Eden-like realm under the tree of life so that humanity can repopulate again, but in a nicer way. So what that is showing us is I had my family, I had people I've been around. They always tell me, Sal, you have a child like mine. You always act like a kid. I said, you know what? That might save me in the end because I never saw anybody in a hurtful manner or someone that I preyed upon. Any woman that I looked upon as a flesh and meat, any man that I looked upon that maybe I could get over him and get some money out of him or get some benefit out of him. That's the society we live in. They see a benefit out of you, and when they get what they want, they throw you to the street like a piece of trash. We have more value than that as human beings. And when a child looks at somebody and he smiles with the innocence and the love of a child, not expecting anything, not desiring anything, not plotting anything, return to that state of forgiveness. Even if you've been through any negative situation, such as drugs, porn, unmarital sex, anything like that, just look yourself in the mirror and know that you're forgiven, you're loved. There's beings around you that have helped you survive thus far, and you do have a chance. And your eyes opened up today because you still have a purpose to play and you were needed. If you were not needed, your eyes would have not opened up today. And I tell women, look yourself in the mirror. You're beautiful. You're loved. You're an angel. In Islam, they tell us that heaven lies at the feet of your mother, and you have to honor your daughters, your sisters, and your mothers. Same thing with the men. The men are the foundation that hold everything together. We must be the protectors of our women and not let a lot of these societies abuse them or degrade them or humiliate them, because they are also our mothers, sisters, and daughters. So we have that concept where we must look upon each other with the face of innocence. And that's why we say that, Allah is the only reality in Sufism, because everything else is an illusion. And once you get back to that, you are forgiven, even if there were chances that you were in a bad life. God loves you 70 times more than the love of a mother. And you know how much a mother loves her child, and she would defend him and his weaknesses in front of the father, or she would hide his faults. That's God for us. And in Sufism, the moment you surrender yourself and the moment you submit to the higher power, and that's like the tarot card of the fool. The fool is looking up with a childlike innocence and smiling at the divine, knowing that I given my heart and my will to the divine. And I tell the divine, use me as you wish to do your work. Once you make that intention and put that intention out there, everything in your life is going to change overnight, because the more you run away from your problems, the more you run away from yourself, the bigger the damage is going to be done. So you have to know that you are loved, forgiven, and the state of unconditional love that you will be provided once you surrender all of those things, and everything that you wish to manifest will be given to you times 10.
That's great. That's great. And I think that's what people miss is connecting with their heart and the true love and the childlike quality. They have that teaching in Christianity. You can't enter heaven if you're not like a child, right? And you put it in actually more perspective for me, and it makes complete sense because, I see that, I do have a wife and children, and I see my children and how they are basically that clay, right? And we have the ability, being their parents, and we're their living stones. We're supposed to be their examples, and they learn everything from us, and of course the world around us, and having a daughter. I have 5 boys, and my first daughter, Kiana, and she's 11 years old, going to be 12, and just this innocent young girl, and she's just got her phone, and I got to be careful with that. And here in the West, we do all that stuff. But in any event, one of the things I want to do is I want to protect her from this world, from the Instagram girls and the Facebook, where I believe that they're all well-meaning and they've been turned out by this world, and they're copying these other women, and they didn't have a good role model. And we live in this modernity where that's accepted, and these people are making millions of dollars showing their butt. That's all they do. And then they just literally do that all day, and they travel around the world like kings and queens.
Yeah.
And, these are the people that are held up by our powers that be, and the people that are on social media, and, they're sponsored, and, and guys like us or myself are just struggling, or being, I was being shadow banned and blocked on YouTube 10 years ago. Now that's it's happening to everybody, but in any event, I feel that we have a crisis here, but possibly things are changing. Possibly, maybe this great reset that they're calling behind the scenes or anything, there might be some spiritual beings at the top that are mixed in with the darkness. And that's how I believe it is, that the light is always more powerful than the dark, right? And
Yeah.
that, you know, when and to put that in perspective, when I say that, like, I can't usually get, the black magicians usually can't fool me. In business, it's very hard for a guy to like lie, or my employees. It's almost to the point now, it's like, it's almost like I wouldn't say it's a blessing, definitely, you know, but almost a curse being in this world where I have to deal with this all day long and every day, being able to see through the matrix, this weird thing that once you kind of get aligned and you tell God, you know, it's not, I don't want wisdom to make money and to get women. I actually just want wisdom for wisdom, to be a better person so I could serve you. You know,
Yes.
that's simple. And that's what I want. And I realize the things that I want are being given to me, and everything that I need, and not much more. And everything starts resonating, you know, and when I go out of this way of thinking, and I do sometimes, and I backtrack in my path, it starts to crumble almost immediately, Salman. You
Yeah.
know, so it's just this weird thing. Um, so tell us a little bit before you get into your, I don't know if you want to still do a little bit of the presentation. I know we've
Yes,
been kind
please.
of free flowing. So tell us about Sufi state of enlightenment, and then let's go into your presentation.
So the Sufi stages of enlightenment, the first, they have the three stages of enlightenment. Like you have the three stages of the soul in Masonry, or the three steps of Masonry. So the first step is you have to basically lose yourself. You have to lose yourself under the sheikh, and the sheikh is equivalent to the worshipful master. And basically, in Sufism, they tell you if you die in this world without a guide or a mentor, you basically died in darkness. So just like how you had all of these great apostles and messengers that had their companions and friends around them, we also need our brothers around us to help us walk to that path of enlightenment and to get to the mountaintop. So the first step is to lose yourself in the sheikh, to fana, to basically annihilate yourself from this matrix and just sit. Like you have a lot of these Sufi sheikhs that just sit in isolation all day long because they've given up on the world, because they know that there's nothing is true except the source of that one, one grand architect, which is nothing but a state of purity and love and innocence. And what Rumi describes his separation and the pain of separation, being away from his beloved, and the beloved is Almighty God, with that essence of pure light, pure love, pure innocence, and just pure hope for all of us. And that's what Imam Ali said, one of the companions of the Prophet, is that those who sell this life for the next lose either of them. And those that you have that sell out because Iblis, or Lucifer, you are his greatest enemy, and he is the deceiver and the forsaker. He will tell you, okay, you'll be rich and famous, you do this and that, sell out your family members, do this, do that. But at the end, you'll be empty-handed. You're not going to take none of this stuff with you, and you're going to be forsaken in the next realm, because nobody gets away with anything. We all have a price to pay for our actions. Even the people that think that, okay, I'm going to get away with this, you're not. One of the names of God in Sufism is Al-Basir, the all-seeing and all-knowing, and you will be held accountable for that. So that's the thing. You have to be accountable, you have to be forgiving, and you have to lose yourself from this world and detach from this world, knowing that the concept and the illusions and the expectations around me, they do not benefit me in any way. I just have to basically find my way back home through my own heart, like it has in the Kingdom Hearts video games. It tells you the truth, that the door to your heart, or the Kingdom Hearts, is within yourself. And the real benefit of Sufism and Freemasonry is the memories you build upon with each other, and the relationships you build with each other, and the friendships and the brotherhoods that you share. Those are the greatest gifts that you can ever have. Everything else is, my brother, you have it today, you don't have it tomorrow.
That's great. That's great. I love that. So what would you like to present to us today, Salman?
I had a PowerPoint presentation I wanted to share with your viewers to get more in depth about
Okay.
Sufism and Freemasonry.
Okay, great. And are you able to do that from there? You got the share screen
Let me
function?
try from here.
Okay.
It says host disabled participant screen sharing.
Great. All right, let me see if I could change that. All right, try now, Salman.
Oh, here we go.
Awesome.
Okay. All right. Do you see it?
Yes, I do.
All right. So this is a PowerPoint that I have prepared for your viewers, Brother Mo, and for yourself.
Okay.
So I would like to start off with a quote from William Preston, and that's who my lodge is named after in England. So he says that the true Mason is a citizen of the world, and his philanthropy extends to all the human race, uninfluenced by local prejudices. He knows no preference in virtue, but according to its degree from whatever country or climate may spring. So it's similar to what Manly Palmer Hall said, that the true Mason finds light at every altar. And what I say is that the truth, or what the truth is, has been fragmented into these different paths, and we must be able to learn from everyone and apply those teachings from our lives. And that's what I tell the Masons here, is that when you say all men are equal and you go on Facebook and post something against Islam or post something against somebody's race or politics, you're creating division. You must be the better example than that, because when the general public looks at you, you must be able to teach them through your actions, not your words. It's our actions that, and leading by example, is what will teach others in our journey. So when you have the concepts of the three stages of the degrees, first one is you fight the ego and come to light. So in the Holy Quran, Surah Nur, it says that Allah, or the Grand Architect, brings from darkness to light whom he wishes. So there are sinners that turn into saints, saints that turn into sinners. That happens overnight with the will and pleasure of the Grand Architect. So first, we must be able to surrender our egos to know that we have a higher purpose, my brother, that we're meant to play in this life.
Yeah, and
And
let's
stage,
yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt. I just wanted
yeah.
the ego, a lot of people have, I believe, a misconception here in the West. So, you know, what I would say to the audience, the ego, your selfish human desires, those would be considered with your ego, and coming to the light would be to the philosophy and to God's will with
Yes.
your life, rather than the human desires. Okay, go ahead, brother.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, great. Awesome.
So the second is the Tarika, that is to unite with the Grand Architect of the universe. So the Tarika being is that when you join the Sufi order, you have what you call tarikas. So you have Murid, you have Naqshbandi, you have Inayati. So just like how you have different Masonic jurisdictions that are out there, you also have these different tarikas or Sufi orders that are helping you unite with the Grand Architect in their own way and their own practices. The third is Marifa, the third stage of Sufism, which is the act of know thyself and know thy Lord. So when you know yourself, you know your pains, your weaknesses, your strengths, your light, your love, that's when you will know God. The example, when every time Neo would go to the oracle, she wouldn't tell him anything. She said, what you want, you already know, and point to the sign above him that said, know thyself. And the Sufi is trying to get to this fourth realm, to become one with the Grand Architect of the universe. First realm is this first realm that we're in, which is matter, earth, water, air, fire, and ether. So the aspect of knowing God and the world. When you transcend that, then that's the fourth dimension, or the astral realm, where a lot of these beings operate, such as the jinns, the angels, heaven and hell, cause and effect. So as above, so below. So if there's a spiritual war taking place here, there's also one taking place up there. And your higher self is dealing with you in your 3D flesh body. And we must be able to resonate and connect with that higher self, so we're successful in this realm and the realm above. So we can get to this place right here, which is pure essence. Nothing exists there except just pure love, pure energy, and pure light. And that is the ultimate goal of the Sufi, is to get out of this flesh and this suit that we're in, to get back to where we originate from. So just like how you have the pillars of Masonry, you also have the pillars of Islam. So the concept of Tuscan, Doric, Ionic, Corinthian, Composite. You have the pillars of Islam, which is to first surrender to God in whichever way you might perceive. and be in a state of prayer and forgiveness always. So you put that shield of light and protection around you. We have the concepts in Christianity as well, such as doing the Lord's prayers. Right, and the more time you do it, the stronger the shield around you will get. So at the same time with the prayers, fasting to abstain from the world and to isolate yourself in a way. Pilgrimage, which is to basically travel to the east. The Mason is always traveling to find more light from the east. And almsgiving. If there's anybody that you know deserves help, you do what you can without jeopardizing yourself or your family to help them. Because, you helping somebody else, you're helping yourself in return, because you and I, we're the same. How the Rastas say I and I, because we're all part of that one grand architect of the universe. And how in the holy books, God always, when speaking, refers to itself as we. It's not I or my or me, it's we, because it's you and I both. And the concepts of jihad. Jihad is basically fight against yourself, the struggle against the self. And if you can defeat your lower self, then you have done the greatest jihad that there ever is to conquer yourself. So that's a comparison that I found between Sufism and Freemasonry. Now, before the existence of the heavens and the earth, the Sufis believed that there was the light of Nur Muhammad. A lot of people, when they hear Muhammad, they think of the physical prophet that existed in the 6th century. But the light of Nur Muhammad is what many spiritual schools of thought call the source light, or being one with source. So before the existence of the heavens and the earth and the sun and the moon and the stars and the planets and humanity, there was this light of Nur Muhammad. And the Sufi realizes that if we all come from that one light and that one source, how can I have any hate in my heart for anybody, whether he be white, black, Asian, Hispanic, Jewish, Christian, Muslim? We all come from this one source. And that's our goal, is to return to this one source in the spiral. That's why you see the Sufi dervish, he's always whirling all the time. And Rumi, he had whirled for 60 hours straight in order to realize the fragmented holographic reality that we're in, and to know that this is the only reality. Everything else is an illusion.
Yeah, and let's on the Sufi dancing, you see a lot of different cultures, and I wanted to bring up, because some people, here in the West, they might not understand these concepts, but you see this happen. I think in ancient Greece, they used to dance around fires, the pyra, the fire, and then also, of course, the Native Americans here in America, and they would dance around the fire and do their dances, and sometimes they would do it for hours and hours and get into trances, and they were to connect. So it's just interesting. So I wanted to kind of relay the Sufi twirling dance, which I love watching, and I've seen many videos, and you could just literally just watch it and watch it for hours. But I've always wanted to do it, but I never have. Have you done it?
I haven't done it. There's a lot of commitment and dedication.
Oh, you can't just do it. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Again, there's a spiritual thing happen here. It's just not like you just start dancing. So, okay. Yeah. So you just don't become one of those twirlers. You have to train to be one.
Yep. You got to basically work your way up. So that way,
interesting.
If the Sheikh knows that you're worthy of that path, then they put you on the training to become that path. So it's basically cool. Like Freemasonry, where you try to do as much as you can, and then some of the higher ups, they'll tap you if they find you worthy for the special positions.
Interesting.
So the next slide, Brother Mo, is what is the goal of the Sufi and the Mason? So the goal of the Sufi is to become one with his beloved, the grand architect of the universe, and to become better, adab, your character. So in his character and being to honor self and humanity. The goal of the Mason is to believe in God, honor his brothers, smooth his ashlar, and be a better man. So 2 paths and 1 destination. So the concept is that you have to just honor yourself, honor your family, honor your brotherhood, respect everybody, love everybody, and forgive everyone, no matter what race or religion. And anybody that's not operating from that viewpoint, he is not representing the brotherhood correctly. If there's anybody that denounces anybody, or goes into the ego trap that I don't recognize you, or they fall into these political aspects, they are letting the Iblis or the Shaitan get the best of them to trying to divide humanity. Now, most people do not know this, but the Prophet Muhammad himself, he was a widow's son. He had lost his father at a young age and was raised by his mother, a widow, till the age of 6. He said, I have come to perfect the adab, character of mankind. He established religious and racial freedom with his decrees, dealing of Hazrat Bilal, who was a slave. He gave him his freedom, and the covenants with the monks of St. Catherine Monastery and the Constitution of Medina, which gave rights to Jews and Christians and protection. And he instructed mankind to become one ummah, community, and be on the level. So the concepts that many people, because the agents of chaos will not show you this on the news networks. They will tell you that Muslims are supposed to hate Jews and Christians and we're supposed to be enemies. But if you look at what the Prophet himself taught, it's all in one with what Freemasonry teaches. And even the example that Saladin followed in the Holy, when he protected the Christians and their holy places and allowed them safe passage in and out of Jerusalem, because that is the, the character of perfecting ourselves that we're supposed to follow.
Yeah, and to concur with what you're saying there, Manly P. Hall, there's a couple of writers, I don't know their names right now, but they do say that Allah and Islam has been slandered in our modern day writing. And so a lot of the things that we hear in the West is actually slander. So that's interesting. And what I've read and, also talking to brothers of Islam and them treating me like a brother and a friend and never having an issue, it seems to be the case. But just like there is in Christianity, like you say, it doesn't matter the person, the race, the religion. You have people where Satan or Shaitan has taken their soul, and they might claim to follow Allah, but their actions prove otherwise.
Yeah, that's right, my brother. The duality and the concepts of evil and good, we're fighting with it in all countries, races, and religions.
Sure.
So, I thank you and allowing me to, share this bond with you. It means a lot to me.
Definitely.
And, the concept, Brother Mo, is that we have the 99 names of Allah, just like how the Mason is searching for the missing name of God. You also have something in Islam, which is the 100th name. And we believe that that's something that you can only find out from your heart. Only your heart can answer that for you. You cannot get that from anywhere else. And just like how the Mason is trying to find himself in his journey. So one of the names of the grand architect of the universe is the all-seeing. And what we believe is that he's always aware of what you do in darkness. So there's a story with a Sufi Sheikh. And the Sufi Sheikh, he says that, oh, let me go back. Excuse me.
Sure.
So the Sufi Sheikh, he says that he had 3 of his students and he gave each of them a chicken. And each chicken, he told 3 of his students that I want you to go and kill this chicken in a place that no one can see you. So the first student took the chicken at the back of his house and he killed it. The second student took the chicken to the back of the forest and killed it. And when the third student came, he said, Sheikh, I couldn't kill this chicken. Everywhere I went, the all-seeing eye of El-Basir, one of the names of God, was watching me. I went to the forest. I went to the dark basement of my home. I went to the mountain. Everywhere I went, he saw me. And that's what it's basically being taught to us, is that no one, my brother Mo, in this life gets away with anything. If you do evil against anybody, you plot evil against anybody, even when you believe you're hiding in darkness and no one is seeing or what you're feeling in your heart, the grand architect knows. And there comes a time when our hearts will be weighed on a scale. And that's when we'll know if we're moving to the higher realms or if there are still some karmic lessons that we have to learn. And that's the concept of the Gnosis as well, being Gnostic warriors. And the concept we have in Islam, my brother, is brethren of the white cloth. And this is what changed Malcolm X's life and heart. So we're all equally on the level. And what the white cloth that we wear is called the ihram, or if you sound it out phonetically, it's hiram. So when we go to Mecca, we basically are in a state of purity. No money, no titles, no degrees. All the brothers are dressed in the purity of the white cloth, like the white lambskin apron of the Master Mason, and to love and respect each other equally, no matter what your race or background. And if I see another brother Mason wearing the lambskin Master Mason apron, I get so happy, like I found a long lost friend, and I go and hug him and ask him, how are you? How's your family? The same thing that we have in Mecca for the Sufis is when they travel to the east, so traveling east to find light, they go to Mecca and we all meet with each other on the level. And that's what changed Malcolm X, because in America, he was being taught hatred and division, and that's not the case. So another concept we have is the memento mori. And in Freemasonry, you see a lot of brothers that use the skulls as a fashion now. They have skulls everywhere to remind them of their mortality. So in Islam and Sufism, we believe that every soul will taste death. That is something that we cannot escape. And that's what the Grand Architect says, that we test you with evil and with good as trial, and to us you will be returned. And that's the concept that I found similar in Freemasonry, is that people think that they're invincible, they're millionaires, or they sold out to the shaitan, they can get away with everything. Nobody gets away with anything. If you did evil against yourself, you lied to somebody, you lied to your fellow man, you plotted against your brothers and sisters, you plotted against humanity as a whole, you will pay a price for that. That's why, our spiritual ancestors, or the guardians that sent us here, they sent us here to hone ourselves through the good and evil, and not to sell out. We came here to help each other and love each other as brothers, and not to fall into divisions of ego or the lower nature. So that's what we're reminded, that every day death can come to you. And that's the concept that I found in Islam and Freemasonry, is that the Muslim is not afraid to die, whether in war or in other places, because he knows that the realm after this is the real realm. And this illusion that we're here in, we're just here to help each other hone ourselves physically and emotionally and spiritually in this journey back home. So, you know how you have the Masonic altar, Brother Mo? You have all of the holy books on the altar giving the same respect, and they're all treated as the volume of the sacred law. So in Sufism, the similarity that I found is that in Holy Quran, Surah 2, verse 62, we say that those who believe in the Quran and those who follow the Jewish scriptures and the Christians and the Sabians, any who believe in Allah, God, and the last day and work righteousness, shall have their reward with their Lord. On them shall be no fear, nor shall they grieve. Now in America, they will tell you that me as a Muslim, Brother Mo, is supposed to hate you and call you an infidel. But that is not true. This is telling you that as long as you believe in God and submit to God, you don't have to follow Islam. You could be a Jew or a Christian. As long as you do right on your specific path, you will have your reward when the time comes. And that's the concept that I want people to understand, is don't let these divisions divide you, where they go on the news and tell you that, these people have anthrax and they're going to kill you. And that turned out to be a lie, where thousands of soldiers from here paid a price and innocent civilians from the other side paid a price. So people at the top could, make their money and fortune by dividing us amongst ourselves.
Do you believe part of that is because people have the misinterpretation of Allah, meaning it's a separate God than, say, we Christians have in the West, or other religions? They think that it's two competing gods, when in reality it's the same God. It's a different name for God.
Yes, exactly. Just like how the Grand Architect has different names to describe its divinity, we
Sure.
have the same thing with the 99 names of God. We're
Sure. So
all referring to that one being.
yeah, so what it's saying there is, the Jewish, the Christian, the Sabians who believe in God and the last day and works of righteousness. So that just says it right there. If we all believe, then we shall all share in the reward of the Lord, not just Islam, not just
Yeah,
Christians, not just Jews,
yeah.
right? And so that's where the concept of fraternity comes from as well. So keep going, brother.
Yeah, brother. And that's the beauty of this, is that when I read that, and before I got into masonry, while I was listening to you at the same time, I realized that all of this stuff is teaching you the same exact thing. Freemasonry is teaching you the same concept. Islam is teaching you the same thing. And even in Surah 49, verse 10, the believers are but brothers. So make peace between your two brothers and be mindful of God, so you may be given mercy. And in the same thing in the same surah, in Surah 2, that we make no distinction between any of his messengers. So Jesus, Moses, Muhammad, Solomon, everyone taught you the truth in their own way. And if we're all going to that one mountaintop, the capstone of the pyramid of the back of the dollar bill, to become one with the light of the Grand Architect's eye, then it doesn't matter if I'm taking A road, somebody's taking B road, C road, D road. We're all going to meet at the same destination. And that's why I tell people, is that we should all come together as one brotherhood to love and respect one another, and be mindful of those that claim to be those of the spiritual path, or from Freemasonry or anything else, but they're causing division with their fellow man. because they are not serving that greater purpose of the grand architect. So we have a chant that we do in Sufism that goes with our breath, because everything is connected with our breath. So the Sufi would go la, il, la, ha, il, la, la. That means there is no God but God. God is the only reality. And that is basically la ilaha illallah are the 7 syllables, which relate to the 7 chakras of your inner temple. So you basically have to work your way up from here all the way to the top. And that energy that you carry within you, and just like how you had Lower Egypt and Upper Egypt, you have to make sure that you honor yourself from these concepts all the way to the spirituality where you see everybody as one. I can look at, Brother Mo and have the same love for him that I have the love for myself. For his family, I will share the same love that I have for my family. So we must be able to get to that kind of realization and not have any hate in our hearts for anybody. And we have to be mindful of those that are using scriptures, using spiritual paths or brotherhoods to cause division, because they are serving themselves. They are not serving each other.
Yeah, maybe you could help me a little bit, brother. That's one of the things that I have a problem with. I've been doing this a while, and then there will be, as you had mentioned, brothers or people where I'm trying to connect and trying to form this bond, and it's always just seems to be one way. Or there's someone that I believe is serving the darkness, the selfishness, their lower nature, and they continue to do that and deceive other people. I get real mad at that. And I don't know if it's maybe, what we call here in the West, PTSD, just post-traumatic stress disorder, because I feel like I have to shine the light on them sometimes, so there's this thing here where I believe we're just kind of like, we ignore it and then we just cut them off. And then part of me wants to expose it and shine a light on it and tell these people as well. But that also brings confrontation a lot. But in the same breath, what I've learned, here's an example for you, brother, is that bully, right? So when I was growing up, I had a friend that would beat me up every day. It was my best friend. And it wasn't until 3 years after being beat up, and I was a little chubby kid, where I had this thought, and I don't know if it was God, he just said, just stand up and fight back. And I didn't know how to fight. Yeah. And I did. And because I stood up, I felt like, to the truth, like, you're not going to do that to me anymore. And instead of turning my cheek and let the guy keep slapping me, like they say in Christianity, I socked my friend. And that day forward, respect was for me by this person. And then this same thing I started doing to other people that would abuse me and beat me up, because I was a little chubby, obese kid. And here in America, you're abused as a kid, and you're made fun of, and it's hard to make friends, and you get confused because everybody's judging you by how you look. And I feel that this has made me to the point to where I get older, where I really loathe that. And I really loathe some of these people, because I see them like when we were kids, Salman, and it's the bully or the jock or the one, and now they're the ones making this money, deceiving people or doing things and saying lies. Part of me feels like we're never going to get to the point that we need to get until we start shining a light on that. And then part of it, is the other, where you're supposed to allow them on your path. What is your thoughts on there, and what does the Sufi way teach?
Yeah, the 2 examples, my brother, I could give you is, we have the concept of Prophet Isa in Islam, who is Jesus Christ. And he would also spread peace and love, humility. But when he saw people deceiving others, such as the money changers in the temple, he did not hesitate to go in there and flip their tables over and whip them. Same thing with the Prophet Muhammad, love and brotherhood for everybody. But those that were evil, he did not hesitate to pick up his sword and fight against them with his companions, and the battles that had taken place in Mecca against some of the evil ones that had inhabited that place. So it reminds me of my story when I came to America. First, I was in Cleveland, Ohio, and I was a 5-year-old kid from Pakistan. I didn't know English, but it would hurt me. There used to be this one kid. His name was Joseph. I hope he's doing all right wherever he is. And the kids would, in the playground, would pull his pants down, and Joseph would start crying. And he still flashes above my eyes every now and then. And then I saw Joseph one day standing up to them and fighting back. And that's, you have to do that sometimes, because in this battle of good and evil, it does start from the time you become a child, because a lot of those beings know who you are before you know who you are, and they see you as a threat and they want to destroy you. So always speak soft, love everyone, but when it comes time to flip tables over like Isa Christ did, then you have to be able to do that. You know, it's that balance that you must find within yourself to protect your daughters, your mothers, your sons, your families. So, and that's the concept of the Mason as well. The aspect of physical improvement also happens on the self-defense level as well. So the Masons who do that, you know, more power to them. We have to be able to defend our families and loved ones at all times against the beings of darkness that can occupy anybody or anything around you to try to demoralize you. It could even be family or friends that could come and try to destroy you. You know, it says that in Matthew, that some of your, you know, enemies could be from your own household. So we have to be able to stay strong and have that concept of forgiveness, but at the same time, when anything threatens our existence or the, you know, the existence of our loved ones, you must be willing to stand against it. Just because, you know, you're stronger than Iblis, and Iblis knows that. You must be able to put him in his place when the time comes.
Yeah, and it's interesting, and what I've learned, you know, and thank you for confirming that. It makes me feel better because I I feel like that's my path, you know, as far as
Yeah.
the being a living stone. We're all different stones in the pyramid, and mine's to, you know, shine a light and then also not be afraid to go into the darkness and to face the demons and to bring out my sword if needed be. And I find that, you know, I'm often a reflection of what you give me, you know, and sometimes I know I need to give a little bit more love, but what I've learned to do is forgive not only, of course, myself, but also the person, even when that happens. You know, I'm estranged from my sisters right now. You talk about family. We had an issue where they called me a liar, you know, about my son being sick. And anyways,
Mm.
I forgive them. I love them. My door is still open for them. And I've said sorry, even when I feel that I wasn't the one that needed to say it. But I forgive them because I believe they're taken over by the satanic influence of the United States of America,
Yes.
which I sometimes call the satanic states of America. So I believe we started out Masonic, and then we reverted to to satanic states
Yeah.
of America, and we need to get back to our old traditions, how we were supposed to be, because this modernity is going towards nihilism. So, in any event, thank you for confirming that. Go ahead, bro.
Yes. So the next slide that I'm moving on to is that the Mason and the Sufi is to be duly tested and tried. So on the left-hand side, we have the Solomonari, the wizards from Romanian mythology, who would come out, disguise themselves as beggars to test humanity. And anytime you would walk past them, they would ask you for money. So they would see, is this person who he really says he is, to relieve humanity when the time comes. On the right, you have a Sufi who might be a Sufi sheikh of a really high degree, but he has annihilated himself from this world. He's not there to impress anybody with his status or his looks. He's just sitting under a tree like a Buddha, like, I don't want to do anything. I want nothing to do with this world. And that's the concept that I found even when I had traveled overseas. Like here, as a Mason, you will have people that might come up randomly to you to test and try you in the forms of, you know, money or other situations. In Sufism, I saw the same thing. I went to some of these off-grid places in the border between India and Pakistan, and some of these like beings that I was dealing with were of a very high spiritual level. But when I would walk past them, he would just be sitting on the floor and people would just walk right past him. And, you know, one of them said, I did that on purpose with you to say, are you really who you say you are? Like, you say all these things about being a good person and doing all this. I wanted to test you in a place where there was nobody around but you and me. And I wanted to see if you were going to help me or not. And that's the concept of the Mason, is that you make all these promises, you have to honor yourself, your family, and your fellow man with forgiveness and help. But when the time comes, are you really going to do it? Or are you going to look the other way and be a coward? Because that's when the grand architect will hold you accountable too for making false promises in his name. So that's what the similarity that I found between the two.
Sure. And what I want to add there is that, you know, what I feel is, now that I know this knowledge and I feel that I'm connected to the grand architect of the universe, I believe almost as if there's some type of bond or a contract Okay. And I want you to explain this and again, I don't have any teachers or anybody that's teaching me anything right now. I'm trying to, well, there is, of course, right? But in any event, I go back, as I had said, I backtrack
Yeah.
because I believe it's this world, my upbringing, this culture of United States of America, where I lose that sight and I lose my connection. And I feel like I almost like sometimes I fall back asleep for a couple days or a week or a month or 2 months. And then I start having issues,
Hmm.
health issues,
Yeah.
mental issues.
Yes.
And I start getting out of balance. My family starts like things start going wrong here and start
Mm.
getting in arguments with my wife and then start fixing and going, wait a second. And then I start getting back into philosophy and what I feel I'm supposed to do. And I start my Gnostic podcast up and, the business starts suffering, right? The money
Yeah.
starts suffering, but I'm happy. I have a jump in my step. These ailments start going away and I want to start working on what are causing them and my sins. And then my life starts going better and better. And then this world takes me back. So I'm constantly going back and forth to this. What are your thoughts there as far as trying to deal with this of going back and forth? I don't know if I framed that right or had the story.
You did, my brother Mo,
Okay.
and I see you as a mirror reflection of myself, because I've been through those phases where I've been in credit card debt. I had to deal with court notices. I was dealing with health problems and weight problems. And a lot of people who criticize Freemasonry said that Freemasonry is cursed, that when you start dealing with it, you'll have all of these elements that'll come in and try to destroy you. But that's, the main thing is that you could even have that without Freemasonry. And you have to be able to confront yourselves knowing that every day is not going to be a good day in life. And what I do in my life every day is when I go to the park, I go meditate and feed the birds. I ask Almighty God, God, I know who I am, what I stand for, and what I need to do. Please continue to hone my positivity and conviction throughout all the good and bad times of my life so I can honor thyself, honor myself, my brotherhood that put their faith in me, my family that puts their faith in me, so I can keep going for another day and know that whatever lessons you want me to learn by being on the black tile today, I know tomorrow I'll be on the white tile. So that, balance in masonry that we must find ourselves in is the esoteric concept of finding yourself with a white lodge and black lodge mentality, black tile, white tile. You have to find that balance and know that each day is there to teach you something, because you and I, my brother, would not be who we are if we hadn't dealt with the difficulties in our lives to shape us to the Gnostic warriors that we're meant to be.
Definitely. Great explanation. All right, continue, please.
So in Sufism, you have what we know as the Hafiz, which is equivalent to the worshipful master, the one who masters the work of the lodge and to honor himself and his brothers. So this is one of my nephews on the right-hand side here in the picture, dressed in all white, the color of innocence. He had memorized the Holy Quran verbatim, all 114 chapters, front to back, back to front. And that's a similarity that I found in Masonry, is that one, in order to become the master, he has to memorize all of this stuff. So it's basically that's a similarity that I found, that by mastering all of this stuff, you actually end up helping yourself and helping those around you. So any endeavor that you're involved in, whether it's Gnosticism, Sufism, Freemasonry, there are teachings that you will have to learn to put into your heart. And again, everything is through your heart. And once you do that, you elevate yourself to a higher level. The story of the Sufi master, Sheikh Abdul Qadir al-Jilani, and he teaches us is to be humble. One time, the Sufi Sheikh, equivalent to the master, was walking with his brothers or his disciples through a market, and they saw a beggar on the street. And the Sheikh said that, you see that beggar sitting over there? He's better than me. And the students got shocked, that, Sheikh, why would you say that? And he said, overnight, because God can put me in his position and put him in my position. So never be in a situation where you look down upon others, or you walk past somebody and say, oh, he's a bum, or he's having issues with his wife or his kids, or he's not a man. What defines a man? Or what defines a human being in today's society? when we have the concept where liars and thieves are the ones that get promoted to top positions. And it's people like us with the light that usually have to take the biggest burdens in what we have to face. But we are the ones that can handle it because we are the balance that have been put in this life. So what Sheikh Abdul Qadir al-Jilani tells us is that first, never lie, always speak the truth, whether it be against an enemy, friend, or foe, because your character will always be vindicated by the higher powers that put their faith in you, because overnight they can change your position. So we have the concepts of the pillar and the altar in Freemasonry. Not too many people know that the Kaaba, the holy city of Mecca in the East, and Islam, Sufism, inside of the Kaaba, you'll have the pillars and the altar. And that's basic, and the perfect ashlar stone that you must become. So the Ka, which comes from ancient Egypt, is the aspect of your soul. The Ba is basically your astral form, the one that flies around like a bird when you go to sleep to the different realms. The Ak is the third stage, where you infuse both the man and the astral into one. And the Ak in Sufism, you call somebody an Ak or Aki, that means brother. So you just like how you have the three stages, the pillars, the altar, the perfect ashlar stone. The same thing is in Islam, the concepts that come from ancient Egypt of honoring that self and make sure you honor your soul so you can honor others in your life. Now we have many people do not know that why do the Templars or the Knights Templar in Freemasonry have the wool on top of their heads? Now in Sufism, Suf comes from wool or the garments of purity. And the Knights Templar were studying with the Sufis in the Middle East in the 787 square and compass lodges. And they brought some of that knowledge back to the West, which, honed their own esoteric ideas, and they were able to become stronger. And that's the connection that they shared with the Sufis is the wool that they wear on top of their heads, which most people don't know why it's there and where do they get it from. And even if you
I
look
didn't
at
know
the
that. Thank
Sufi,
you.
yeah. And if you look at the Sufi, he's dressed in red and white like a Templar. If you look at the assassins, the Hashashin under Hassan Sabah, the old man of the mountain, they were also teaching the Knights Templar as well with the Sufis, with the Al-Banna Sufi order, where the assassins had told them, you might have the cross, but we have the meaning of the cross, which is basically, when you fold that cross up, it becomes a cube, like the perfect ashlar stone of the Kaaba. And that's basically your heart. Everything is in your heart. Christ, the path of Christ, Muhammad, Moses, Solomon, it's all inside of you. You don't have to look anywhere else to find answers. It's all within you, what you seek. So,
what's interesting there, Salman, and I want to relate this to people that might be on the scientific route. And,
yeah,
again, I sometimes go into sciences, they're finding out through DNA, that essentially we're all related and brothers and sisters, and, that we may have Moses within us or, and Muhammad or whatever it may be. So it's just interesting is that they had said this, that you could look within and connect to our heart, and then we can connect to God, and like Moses and our ancestors and so forth. So it's just interesting that when you do this, they talk about this in the ancient sense, and of course in the Sufi teachings, but also in science. We are connected through this DNA, which acts like the grand architect of the universe through the light. But anyways, go ahead.
It's funny, Brother Mo, before I start with this slide,
Sure.
I did my DNA test back in 2016,
Uh-huh.
and I was born in Pakistan with a Muslim family, but my DNA came up Indian, Persian, Chinese, Japanese, Australian Aboriginal, and Alaskan Siberian Native, which is close to like the Native Americans here.
Sure.
And I had ended up finding two cousins that I was related to. It was two Caucasian women, one from England and one here from America.
Wow.
So somebody would tell me, okay, you're born in Pakistan to a Muslim family. But when you go around and try to really find out who you are, and I'm like, I'm connected to all of these people and we shared a common ancestor. So how can I let somebody tell me to hate somebody, because of they're this and they're that? We're all one. That's the beauty of this, my brother. We're all one.
Yeah. And to concur, basically what you had said there, I found out my DNA about 10 years ago, and I'm related to the Ethiopians, Jews, a lot of Arabs, Islam, and all these different things, and people with different color skin. Some people have, they would be considered Middle Eastern, and and then also Greeks. So with all these different bloodlines, and then in Ireland and so forth. And that's when I realized we are children of the world, and people don't realize that, and their cults, whatever nation, have us divided with each other. So that's cool that you got your DNA test.
Yes. So with this, Brother Mo, I wanted to show, like in Kabbalah, they have something called gematria. And gematria, it tells you that every word has a numerical value associated to it. So when you search up Freemasonry, under the Jewish gematria, it comes up to exactly 787. And if you look at the Arabic numbers 787, that's the square in the compass, which means Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful. So this entire path is about God, for God, and by God. So the alchemical transformation of man from lower qualities into higher qualities. And that's when the Templars were there studying with the Sufis and the assassins in the Middle East, they had 787 written outside of their lodges. So what we know as the Brotherhood has existed for thousands of years under the guise of these different schools of thoughts that have been guiding humanity since our creation. So that's something, a parallel that I wanted to share.
Sure.
So we have, the concept of the cable toe in, Freemasonry. And you also have that in Sufism, where in the Holy Quran, Surah 3, where, the grand architect, Allah, tells us that hold fast together to the cable of God, or a cable of Allah, and be not divided. Remember the blessings that Allah bestowed upon you. You were once enemies. Then he brought your hearts together so that through his blessing, you become brothers. So we have this concept of different races and religions that might be in animosity with one another. But when they come in the Masonic Lodge, they're all brothers and they see each other as equals. And that's what we're taught, is that hold fast to the rope of God, and to know that you're all in this together, helping each other in this short life that we've been given, to love thyself and love each other. So
yeah,
moving on.
Yeah, no, it's great that you show that from the Quran, because a lot of people will put other teachings out there, or propaganda, which actually shows the opposite. So it's important, and I'm glad that you chose to put that there. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Mo.
Sure.
So moving on, there's the concept of eating the word of God. And if you see the Sufi, he's always holding the prayer beads and doing the zikr. This is something called the haka, which comes from ancient Egypt. And the priest would always be eating the word of God. And what that means is, if I want to put a force field of protection around me against any evil entity that might try to come into my space, I can recite Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim 1,000 times a day, or A'udhu Billahi Minash Shaitanir Rajim 1,000 times a day, which means in the name of God, the Beneficent, the Merciful, or I seek refuge from the accursed Shaitan. And the similar practices that I found in Christianity is somebody who could do the Lord's Prayer 100 times a day, and they could do the 100 times a day prayer and blow it on themselves and blow it on their family. That would give you the same protection that the Sufis do. So anything you repeat over and over again, you're invoking that energy to be around you. So you could either do the Lord's prayers, Hail Marys, do the Bismillahs, or just always be in that constant remembrance of remembering the grand architect. And you and your family will always be protected from any evil or malevolent entity that might try to enter your space. Because any words are spells, and anything that you are speaking, you're speaking it into existence. So if you're speaking nothing but good things and prayers of the Almighty, then that's the protection that you're going to put around you and manifest it around you.
The beads, are they used as far as to focus, and for the person praying to basically just focus on the beads and use those as they're praying? Is that what they're for?
Yeah. So
Okay.
that's basically helping you. So the beads are like, you could have a set of 100 beads or 300 beads. So let's say I would want to do Bismillah 100 times. I would get the 100 set and just go through the entire beads. So it just helps you stay focused and concentrate.
Sure. Makes sense.
So you probably seen, Brother Mo, growing up in the West, they would always show you these Middle Eastern cartoons of, Aladdin and all these people flying on the magic carpets. So the magic carpet is basically the Islamic prayer rug, which is in the form of an oblong square, which is the shape of the Masonic Lodge, Noah's Ark, anything that has to do with that. You are the temple, and you are walking barefoot on this temple, on this prayer rug. and you have the two pillars, you have the archway, you have the perfect ashlar stone of the Kaaba. So you see, it's all Masonic. And when you pray, is basically you're elevating yourself to a higher realm. So when you pray on the prayer rug, that's why they show the magic carpet that's flying higher and higher, because you yourself are that temple connecting to that temple of God, and you're basically flying to these higher realms by being in a state of remembrance and prayer at all times. So most people probably did not know that.
I did not know that. I like that rug. I mean, when I'm looking at it, it makes complete sense to me. And
Yeah,
I'm assuming, you pray in the middle of the pillars, you
yeah,
contemplate it, and you stand there. The square represents, our carbon bodies, and then you have the left and right duality.
yes,
And you were to transcend that duality in the middle, stand in the middle, to the left, to the right, and then eventually, enter the cube up above the kingdom.
yes, exactly. So
Awesome.
between the pillars is basically our heart. So
Yeah.
everything, my brother, always comes back to our heart.
Gotcha.
So most people do not know the Islamic connection to America. And I'll have you answer this, Brother Mo. What is the only state in America that has a regular Islam Day every September? It's a mandated state holiday.
Is it South Carolina? No.
Hawaii.
Oh, Hawaii. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay.
Hawaii, because most people do not know this, that 200 years before the existence of the Masonic States of America, the Kingdom of Hawaii, there were what you see known as the Moors. So the Moors were there at the Kingdom of the Hawaii, and you see them wearing the dark-skinned gentleman with the red fez, and they're holding up the banner of the Kingdom of Hawaii. And the last king of Hawaii was King Kamehameha, who was also part of the Islam Shriners.
How
First
can
country.
you never hear this? I've never heard this. You know what I mean? So this isn't very interesting to me. I mean, and I'm sure it will be the listeners as well.
Yeah, so they don't tell you this. We're always taught to hate each other. First country to recognize America post independence was Morocco, a Muslim country. You have the Prophet Muhammad's statue outside of the Supreme Court. A lot of the principles that we share amongst one another with Sufism and Freemasonry, going back to the time of the Templars and the Assassins and the Sufis, we always been together since day one. It even shows you in the John Wick movie, the third one, that all of the underworld of the world were connected to this elder of the East, who's basically a Sufi sitting in the desert of Morocco, who was guiding everything. And when he says, "My son, why have you been so lost from me?" So my son, Mason, my son, because John Wick, the only way he found redemption was running for his life from the west to the east. And when he found the elders, he got his enlightenment and came back from the east to the west. And that's the same, situation that I was in, where I found knowledge from the elders of the East. And it shows a lot of the hidden knowledge that your revised school history books will not teach you, because they don't want you to feel sympathy for one another or any connection to one another.
But this information is out there. If we shall seek, we shall find. Right?
Yes, that's right. And Brother Mo, you know that in the American Civil War, when Brother Masons were on opposite sides of the conflict, and when they recognized each other as brothers, they would spare each other's lives. In World War II, it was the same thing. They could be hostile enemies, but that's what the exterior world knows, that these two are enemies, but behind the scenes, they're all friends. So the same thing in the Crusades, you had Saladin and Richard the Lionheart. They were both brothers, esoteric brothers of the same order. Anytime anything happened to Saladin, Richard would send help his way. Anything happened to Richard, Saladin would send his forces and positions his way. So this concept of when we see, it's like the perfect example that we see, where you have these two sides fighting against each other on TV, and they want you divided, but behind the scenes they're all friends. So that's the concept we see with Richard and Saladin. They were always brothers. World War II, you had brothers on opposite sides. American Civil War, you had brothers on opposite sides. So this concept of this universal brotherhood is that sometimes the exterior world will see us on opposite sides of the conflict, but deep down inside, we're all together and we're all the same, trying to fight the same purpose through different realizations. And that's the reality that many cannot comprehend.
Reminds me of Washington.
Yeah, exactly. So even in the Scottish Rite, you have the degree of the Knight of St. Andrew on the left. and you see the knight and the green representing Islam. And on the right, you have the other degree, the knight of the East and the West. So this is basically telling you that be open to knowledge wherever you get. Most people just get clouded up in the esotericism of the West, but know that you can find light in the East as well. Don't neglect the East in your teachings and writings, and know that you must be able to learn from everywhere. That's the concept of not just this, but the double-headed eagle. You can't just look in one direction. Anywhere you get knowledge, absorb it, love it, and honor it.
And that would be part of the fraternity is, you being a part of Islam and Sufi Freemasonry, the Masonic body, and then say me being here in the United States with you, and a different upbringing, but more on the Christian sense and more on the Gnostic kind of side on the Western. But I believe, Sufism is also a Gnostic type of thing. But in any event, where we take these teachings and we help and we bring them to our brothers and so forth into the light.
Yes,
So
exactly.
cool.
And the thing, Brother Mo, is that ultimately it's basically you. And you know how Sufism, it tells you that I search for God, I am found only myself. I search for myself and found only God. And you look at you realize, Brother Mo, is that you and I both have realized this, is that through the tears, through the happiness, through the relationships, through the breakups, through the heartbreaks and sorrows and happiness that we faced, everything ultimately helped us elevate ourselves and realize that, I thank God, or I thank the Grand Architect for putting me through what he put me through so I could become who I am today. So not only I could help myself, my brother, but I could honor my parents, I could honor my loved ones, I could honor those around me. And if there are those that wish to not speak to us again, so be it. But at least our heart is lighter knowing that we have let go and we have forgiven and forgotten. That is the greatest wealth, my brother, that we can have. And eventually, if they are meant to play a role in your life, they will find their way back to you. But ultimately, this world is a guest house. People, places, things, seasons, years, it all changes. But the concept they have in the West is that I cut somebody off and I'm never going to speak to them again, or they bash their ex-girlfriends or ex-boyfriends, not knowing that they were sent to your life to trigger you in a certain way, to trigger your growth or personal development in some way. Now their presence is elsewhere, your presence is required elsewhere. That doesn't mean that they're lesser in the eyes of God. You got to be able to love and respect everyone equally and forgive and let go.
Yeah, and the more I know, the sadder I feel about those relationships, but also understand, as you had said, I've been through somewhat of a hellish life and been through some dark corners where someone would not want to repeat anything that I've done in my life, but I actually am thankful for that. As I get older, I realize that I wouldn't be who I am now. And all those brushes with death and jail and prison and darkness and finding myself in the end and the gift that I've been given. And, I'll never let anybody take that away from me, and that's the light within me now. And now I know what it means not to be afraid to die, even though I don't want to. And I exactly know what that means. And then also what I'm to do with that light. And it's a pretty powerful feeling. So.
That's exactly right, my brother. And I would assure you that you're always loved, forgiven, honored, cherished, and we are never alone in this path. And we see the Sufi heart with the crescent and the star and the wings. I had a dream like that where I was in a place what they call the Celestial Grand Lodge, where a Mason goes after his death. And I saw these beautiful buildings, and I saw a square and a compass with wings on it that was flying around me. And I really loved that, knowing that my physical body might die, but I will always exist in some way, shape, or form. Like it's being exemplified right now in the Matrix, where at the end of Matrix 3, Neo had supposedly died, but now he's coming back in the fourth one. So that means the immortality of the soul, as Masonry teaches you. That's how it is in Sufism and in other paths as well, in Gnosticism also, that I'm a man right now. Maybe I might come back as another being, but I will always exist as a divine essence and conduit of the Grand Architect. And that's it. Love and peace to my friends and brothers at the Gnostic Warrior, and my eternal love and gratitude to you, Brother Mo, for making things full circle for me since I watched you in high school and now being on your platform.
Awesome. You're welcome. And thank you, Brother Salman, and God bless you, and may peace, love be with you, your family, your brothers, and everybody around the world who's listening to the Gnostic Warrior. And there's going to be some people out there, of course, that are maybe getting this on iTunes or Spotify, audio only. I encourage you guys to go to YouTube, because this is a video podcast that we're going to be doing, so you can see the video version. But for some of those people out there that might be just listening via audio, and then of course the video side, can you tell people where to find your great work? Do you want them just to email you? You don't have a website or anything right now, right?
No, I don't have a website for now, but what they could do is email me at salmansheikh911@gmail.com. And also go on YouTube and just search my name, Salman Sheikh, and you will find all my videos, and everything there is for free. I don't charge anybody for Patreon, Cash App, nothing, because I know that if I have knowledge in my heart to share with somebody, then it should benefit everyone, not just me.
I definitely agree. And those people out there that might be interested in Sufi Freemasonry, maybe going down that path, they feel like, the spiritual path they're taking now here in the West is not fitting with them, and they maybe want to venture into that. Can they email you and ask you about that and what they could maybe do?
Yeah, sure. Just like how, depending on your local area, you find a local lodge you can go and join to explore Freemasonry. It's the same thing with Sufism. You have these different orders that have been broken and scattered across America. So depending on their location, I could find out what's close to them and help guide them to the proper resource if they want to pursue that path.
Awesome. And what I suggest, Salman, because I actually learned a lot from you today, and that's what I believe, talking with other brothers out there and then sharing the light and then going to the East. I think that we should do at least one or two more this year, and then you go more deeper into these teachings, because I feel that, we could bounce off each other, because every time you show a slide, I want to start talking about something that interlates with that. So I feel that we could spend more time maybe together, where we do kind of a mutual 2 to 3 hour video presentation and just free flow like we did now, because I think we can talk for a long time, bro.
Yeah, my brother. I have love for you, and I'm so happy to be able to do this. And I think that any chance I get to sit down and learn from you, I would happily take that opportunity without any hesitation.
Likewise. All right, Salman, thank you again, brother. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
You definitely. And let's keep in touch. Thank you for listening to the Gnostic Warrior video podcast out there. And again, you could find this on the gnosticwarrior.com website. It's on the Facebook page. We have an active community. And then also it's going to be on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify. Again, thank you for listening. Salman, take care, brother.
Take care, brother. Thank you.
You're welcome. Take care.